Hi, I'm Lai. Welcome to Discount Dive, the show where we'd like to close out 2024 with a bang. If you've never heard of Vecma Studios, it's because they've only made one product. 7, kind of. Technically 8 if you want to get... Look, the point is, they're very small. Judging by the stock photography and the plastic quality, it's almost certainly just a branch of Mechanic Studio. I don't know why they didn't just release this under Mech Fans Toys or Mechanic Studio. It also just occurred to me looking at the logo here that Vecma is Vector Sigma, and here I thought they were just Stranger Things fans. Unlike a lot of Mech Fans Toys Mechanic Studio stuff, these are not knockoffs. They're not fourth-party type figures, downscales or upscales or re-releases of other people's stuff. These appear to be completely original molds. It has all 4 of the Autobot headmasters. You can see Brainstorm getting the short end of the box here, but it also has all 3 Decepticon ones. I've always wondered why there's only 3 Decepticon headmasters when there are 4 Autobot ones. Surely you'd want the bad guys to outnumber the good guys, but I digress. Nice big hefty box, Corchidor for scale. And I'm going to talk about the figures in the order that I opened them. Chromathin Domathin first. If you've ever handled Mech Fans Toys figures, then you know what the plastic quality feels like. It's nice and dense and very toyetic. It has pretty much no give, which isn't great for some things, but it makes it feel nice and sturdy. Lots of ball joints, as is their usual, and his legs are a little bit floppy. Nothing a little bit of goo can't fix. I'd say Chrome Dome is a good place to start, but he does kind of give unrealistic expectations for the rest of the set, which is to say he has wrists. He is the only one who has wrists. But, you know, they're Legend scale figures. Core Class Cheetor for scale again. And for a Legend scaled figure, he's really neat. The one very critical problem with Chrome Dome, though, this chest section does not tab in. So if you want to move the arms, you are actually, in fact, unpegging the whole torso. But it's minor. It's a little thing. Now, I will say, if you get the shoulders positioned just right, say going guns akimbo, it will hold it in place because it's pressing up against the thing. Tips and tricks. Dentists hate her. One of the things that sold me on this set was the fact that the headmasters do still work at this scale. Absolutely pea-sized Stylor. Is this Stylor? I only remember some of their names. For scale, here he is getting dwarfed by Battlemaster Rung. Arms are on one single joint, which I understand. At this scale, like, I wouldn't want them to be individual arms. A little bit of leggy, get a little bit of knee, and that's about your lot. Perfectly serviceable headmaster. Of course, he comes with his classic Chrome Dome double rifles, but in addition, he gets little Uzis. If you have these on the back, the knee stops there. If you untab them, you get a much deeper bend. When you call my name, it's like a little... As a girl who's never watched the Headmasters, I don't actually know where these guns are from. I'm pretty sure the original toy didn't come with them, so if someone could let me know what they're referencing, I'd appreciate it greatly. His posability is pretty solid. He does run into the Chrome Dome issue that most Chrome Domes run into, wherein the animation accurate shoulders are kind of in their own way. Only goes out that far, it gets caught on itself a little bit, but you know, Legends figure. It's a Legends figure. Yeah, he's got everything else you need, even a limited little ankle rocker. And the thing that I love this set for is that all of the transformations are super fun and interesting. None of them feel overly complicated for the scale. None of them feel overly simplistic to the detriment of the figures. And you can do pretty much all of them in under a minute, so nice flip back and forth. Those are not the nicest sounding wheels, but they do roll. If there was any doubt, this is when I was absolutely sure that this was a Mech Fans Toys joint. The wheels feel identical to their Gears release. I think Chrome Dome might have one of the weaker alt modes in the bunch. The arms are still pretty clearly arms. Nothing really hides away tidily, but he does still have his opening cockpit. Oh, speaking of opening, I forgot. They can all show off their little spidstrint. Very minor quibble is that you can't really sit Styler in there. You kind of just have to drop them. They all have cockpits and they all work, but they're not always like a size that was thought out to fit a little fellow. So often you have to just fold them and origami them in there. But he's in there. Chrome Dome can of course do his classic rifles on the back look. And then because of these tabs here, you can actually put his little Uzis on the side too. Call that little Uzi horizontal. Full weapon storage, a working headmaster gimmick, nice transformation, good posability. This level of quality it stretches through all 7 of the figures. Which moves us tidily onto the wolf who is weird. No wrists, no ankles on this guy, but otherwise he's got everything Chrome Dome does. He's got his iconic furry blaster and his iconic butt plug. Shoulders are a similar situation to Chrome Dome where they're accurate and that accuracy gets in their own way. But again, it feels good. Got enough posability for a Legends figure. And the transformation on this one is so much more interesting than it needed to be. You might notice a little gap in this leg that isn't on this leg. And it's because the transformation is asymmetrical. And those kinds of transformations are always such a nice surprise for me. One leg becomes the top cockpit part and the other one completely unfolds, revealing the back wolf legs. Like, come on, that's a neat trick. It's things like this that make me wonder why Mech Fans Toys bothers biting off other people's bits so much. They clearly have a good designer in there somewhere. That's such a neat trick. This is one leg just unfolded. I don't know. It's little. It's very little. Whittle bitty whittle. But this was not the level of quality I was expecting for a set this cheap. Pro tip, if you struggle getting this back part out, give it a little twisty and it'll come right out. There's the teeniest little stress mark on that hinge, but hopefully it doesn't escalate into something worse. That's why I grab the tail by the base when I pull out, which is, you know, also a good lesson for real life. That's a pretty good looking wolf though, right? The top of the cockpit is a little bit fiddly to get in. It doesn't have tabs per se so much as it frictions in between, and so it pretty easily pops back out, but that's okay. I don't know this one's name, but you kind of just pop him with his legs folded up. So whenever you move the wolf neck, he's rattling around in there. You can see the gap. It's a little, the back legs only get a little bit of movement, but the front legs are just the robot arms, so you get plenty. Ow. And in theory, there's weapon storage up here, but in practice, Really? Now you stay on. Okay, I am shocked it took that long. Usually it does not stay on, like, at all. Maybe he's feeling the holiday spirit. Good boy. Good boy. Next, we have the briefcase holder himself. His guns are pretty comically long. Complimentary, I think. He gets ankles, but still no wrists. I'm gonna stop saying that they don't have wrists. Chrome Dome is the only one that has wrists. But he does get some nice deep ankles. He even futz with them a little bit because of transformation to get a deeper stance. Unfortunately, Brainstorm has the weakest head articulation. Because of the thrusters here, it can only turn that much in either direction. I would have been fine sacrificing these thrusters for a cleaner robot mode as opposed to an alt mode. Oh, and Brainstorm, hold on, I forgot to show this on Weird Wolf. So Weird Wolf and Chrome Dome's chest plates both open upward, which is inaccurate. Brainstorm's, however, does the classic G1 thing. But yeah, he's a little noodle arm boy. Who's a little weak guy? You are. Brainstorm is the first one I opened who has an inexplicable piece. You can put it in his taint. You can sometimes fit it against his taint. Am I doing that the wrong way? Wait, childbirth? No. Childbirth? Okay, why was it popping off so easily before? I'm pretty positive this is an adapter for a flight stand. Mindwipe comes with one too, but, you know, this didn't come with a flight stand. It also didn't specify what kind of flight stand was usable with it, so. This one's name is Arcana, not to be confused with Arcane. Oh, the misery. And Brainstorm probably has one of my favorite transformations out of the whole set. Much like Weird Wolf, the legs are asymmetrical, but it's a lot less obvious because the asymmetrical parts are just underneath the heels. I guess they are the heels. The entire cockpit stores inside the chest, which is neat. One leg becomes the nose cone. A very long nose, yes it is. Complimentary, we love the penguin in this house. And the other one both compresses up and rotates the other way around. Like it doesn't feel like it's clashing with the panels too much. Headmaster port has to be little Uzi vertical, that this can plug into the back. I feel like that's a cut above. It's such clever engineering. You can make him aroused. And even though the hands are kind of just on display here, I feel like they tuck pretty neatly underneath. I feel like all this extra detail that's revealed on the back of the arms distracts from any hanging kibble. Like any good Brainstorm, you can choose how his wings are displayed. I personally like to make the longer ones flat and the other ones at a little bit of an angle. I feel like it's a nice starship type look. Can flip those down, compress the guns, pop them onto the front. And look at that! It's such a fun transformation. Like if I weren't filming, I would probably immediately go back to the robot mode and then back again. His crotch is still here, so you can still put the little thingy. And I will say in the alt mode, that does help it stand up better because if you don't have it, he just kind of droops. This is the part that looks like the cockpit, and it kind of does look into the cockpit, but the actual cockpit is back here. Cockpit. Once again, not enough room for his feetsies, but that is okay by me. Look at that. Is it obvious how much I like this set? Any of the problems I have with it is so minimal. Though that said, here we approach what I think is the weakest figure. He could wipe your mind, but hopefully one day he'll learn how to wipe himself. He gets his own bespoke stand port. Not really anywhere to put it in robot mode. Got all the articulation you need, although the backs of the legs are a little bit hindered. Kind of got to work around his dang bat feet. So in robot mode, he has 2 pairs of feet visible at all times. I know some of you will enjoy that. I think the wings are okay. Nice solid plastic. Can get a good wingspan. Can get a decent wingspan going if that's what you're about, or go totally stealth mode if you want him to have a backpack the size of Wisconsin. I think they're positioned a little awkwardly too. Traditionally, wings are like up a little bit. It's nitpicks. It's a small figure, but I do think this is the weakest. The neck swivel on him is a little bit concerningly tight, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna break or anything. Little lad. Mindwipe's another one who can do the biblically accurate headmaster stats. But I think his transformation is a little bit clunky. It is smart in the way that all the others are, but it just doesn't feel like it was as well thought out. For one, getting the bat head in and out of this is a little bit troublesome because the ears go too far down, so you kind of have to basically take it at an odd angle to get the bottom of the ear to clear that corner. Once you learn the trick, it's not difficult, but it is, you know, compared to how smooth the rest of them are, it's a little bit annoying. This little lad truly is just rattling around in there. There's no seat or anything. But I do like the way that the whole body turns around. This whole assembly with the arm and the wing is very clever. Feet. I also feel like there are a couple too many pegs and peg holes going on here. I think they could have cut this one. This pegs into this, and it's just a little bit too much going on at once. Although it does make for a very solid connection, much like your mother and I had after our first date. I'm not even being gross. We were very intimately connected emotionally. Physical stuff. Well, it does mean you can change his shape a little bit. There is not really any place that the arms peg in. Kind of just set it to your liking. This is not my liking. Bat with a backpack. A backpack. Can stand up if you fuck with him a little, but for the most part, he's just going to be rocking back. Something I do think is neat is that even with these parts pegged in, because there's a swivel here and a ball joint here, you can get a little spread going. Still can't stand up though. I think the stand just goes like that. Very inelegant. I think that's probably the best way to describe Mindwipe. Very inelegant. Did not know the ears could pop off. Simple enough fix. Got the opening mouth so you can make him sound like the most shrill creature in existence. A bat! So he's not incredible, but he's not bad. Still an enjoyable figure, still an interesting transformation, decent posability. See, I even got him to stand on his stupid little bat feet. I'd say he's like a B- and a C of A+. If you're a Mindwipe only enthusiast, I wouldn't really recommend getting him alone. There is an option to get all of these alone if you can find listings on AliExpress. But as part of the set, he's fine. Every competition has a last place. What can you do? Although I did just remember my other biggest gripe, there is no weapon storage. Inelegant, but still enjoyable. Highbrow coming in swinging. Very pleasing colors. Like, they all have accurate colors, but I just love this deep blue. Not even a deep blue, it's a soft blue. And then the fact that this is like a very, very pale blue instead of a gray. I honestly do not remember what this part is for. Is it another flight stand? I'm pretty sure it's another flight stand. I don't know. Because of transformation, his chest is a little bit thick. Usually I mean that as a compliment, but it kind of makes his head look like it's set back too far compared to the rest of them. It's a minor nitpick. All of these are such minor nitpicks. He has by far the most firepower of anyone. One double laser on each arm and then two big cannons. We get another biblically accurate headmaster. And here's the only headmaster I had any real problem with. Used to be that when I transformed him, the legs kept popping off. It's just a little clip in there, so I'm surprised this is the only one I had issues with. And I guess it was a little warped from the mold, so I just heated it a little bit and then clipped it back in, held it in place. It's a little tight now, but it holds on. Does not come off. Tiny problem fix. Once again, we continue in the tradition of fun transformations. I really love the way that everything compresses into the torso. Like, it turns inside out. It's so smart. Oh, I love that. And then it uncompresses even further, getting the little nose out of the cockpit. The whole unfurling here honestly kind of reminds me of Kingdom Cyclonus. Get a little bit of a slider. Very solid feeling. And we finally get a cockpit with a dedicated seat. Look, you got little ridges in there. Look at that. Finally someone with ample leg room who isn't just rattling around. I mean, he's a little rattly, but look, he stays in place. Upside down, still in place. It's like a roller coaster with less nausea. I'm looking for things to say, but I'm just having so much fun transforming all of them again. If you think the set looks good, then I think you should definitely get it because it looks just as good in hand and it feels even better than it looks. I do think Highbrow has a little bit of a tabbing issue going into vehicle mode. You can see it's a little bit crooked here because if you push it, there's a risk it pops out the other side. It's a little finicky, a little finagling required, a little finesse that I don't have. The problem with it being all ball joints is that you kind of have to rely on yourself to line up all the balls perfectly, much like a game of pool. I'd say he has the opposite problem to Mindwipe, where he's just not quite solid enough. Not enough tabs keeping things properly locked in. Keeping things. Failed English majors coming out. Got little approximations of landing gear, and they are all on the front. So with very little prodding, it can pop back on its butt. But when you put the cannons in, adds a little bit of counterweight, and now it's mostly solid up there. There are just so many little steps in the transformation. Like, this flap did not need to exist. You could have just had it look worse. But they did add it, and it doesn't complicate things anymore. And it just gives it a much cleaner looking VTOL mode. I actually do remember this is for here. Another flight stand adapter. It's neat that they included them. And if anybody knows what flight stands they are, please let me know. I could honestly be persuaded to order some just because I love this set so much. I guess Highbrow is the QC goblin. We had the messy headmaster leg, and then also these do not spin freely. They feel like a swivel. This one's a little bit better. Can actually get some little bit of rotation out of it. This one's not free flying anywhere. Sorry, pal. You remain on the ground. Skull Cruncher, Skull Smasher, Skull Scrumbler, Scale Cutter, Trail Smasher, Trail Break. One of those classic characters who has 7 different names that are all a slight variation on the original name because they lost the copyright. And another absolute banger, honestly. Biblically accurate headmaster. Legitimately my only complaint here. These can come apart into 2. Okay. Which is neat. The instructions, however, reveal that in the single release, there was both a painted painted gun and an unpainted gun, whereas this group bundle only comes with a painted gun, which does look better, but these tabs connecting into these things I think was calibrated without the paint in mind, so it doesn't feel great putting it in, especially with Mech Fans Toys non-pliable plastic, but hopefully nothing breaks or cracks. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna disconnect it anymore. That's really the only gripe I have with the figure. Get his little lad, you get a nice jagged sword, and you get a fun transformation. I would say it's reminiscent of Titan's Return, but it does a lot more with the legs. Look how much tidier it is. They really could have just had it hanging off the side, but no, they bothered to make it compress into the back of the legs. I love the dual function arm flaps. In robot mode, you get that little stripe of silver, and in gator mode, they add a little bit of spike detail. So many little touches like that. Just, ugh, I love this set. I love this set so much. I don't even know if I'm being particularly coherent this review. I just want to talk about how much I love these, because I feel like nobody talks about them. There's barely any high quality reviews on YouTube. There's no board that just talks about the whole set. It's all the individual figures, and they seem to have been dead for years. It's just good stuff. Look at that. I believe that's how the crocodile legs are supposed to go, but you could also make an absolute eldritch nightmare. He's gonna get you. But yeah, that's a mean face. Can do an average sized chomp. It can be a little tricky to get the cockpit open. There isn't like a thing you can grab onto at the top of it. I found the best way to do it is to leverage these middle spikes. In worst case scenario, I found you can pop a Q-tip in there and press it up. Why a Q-tip? Because it won't damage anything. It does require a little bit of finesse though. Going off camera, should probably stop wearing gloves. First try without gloves. Another nice shapely cockpit. It actually lets the little lad sit. Yeah, look at that. He's nice and comfy. Much better than sitting in his mouth. Plus, you actually get to give him a long tail. Like, that's basically where Titan's Return stopped, but it can all combine together. That's a properly menacing tail scale. You get a good sense of the scale of the tail because he's a tailed scale. He's a scale-tailed jail. He should be voiced by Christian Bale in order to capture his scaly tail, and you simply don't have an idea of the scale of the scaled tail from Christian Bale's alligator tail. I don't know what this bit is. Point is, you get a little posability and you get a lot of length. Brings us to our logical conclusion. RC's sidekick, Mr. Dead Universe Death himself, the hardest of heads. Biblically accurate speed strength 8, little guy. Not a whole lot to say about Hardhead, honestly, but I don't mean that to sound like an insult. He's still fun. Transformation does so much more than it needs to, and he beats Chrome Dome because he actually tabs in. Same transformation style, but nice and solid. Although that doesn't really apply for the vehicle mode, this is often drooping down. Minor stuff. This is the first cockpit where you can have a bent knee. Got a nice little church pew in there. And the surprising but effective call to use the backs of the hands as the front of the vehicle mode. Doesn't break up the silhouette too much. I guess it is a little obvious from the top. And once again, just more going on than there really needs to be. Look how much the legs come apart. There he is sans his weapons. Once again, a little bit floppy in the front. We can forgive it. And he does have wheels. In fact, he rolls around much nicer than Chrome Dome does. But no Hardhead is complete without his big cannon. You can pop the other two cannons into these nifty little peg holes. And there you go. Come on, that's a handsome set. I feel like with this set, it's all about the little details. Like you have nice, lovely sculpting all over everything. You have an entire pile of accessories, including flight stands. Like who was asking for the flight stands? I know I made fun of them, but like they included them. Even down to the Micromasters themselves. They are all uniquely molded, individually detailed bodies. The arms are different, the chests are different, the feet are different, the heads are different. I don't think many people would have complained if they were all just gang molded with different faces on the backs, but they didn't do that. All of the transformations are fun. I stopped recording because I didn't want to talk over them anymore. I just wanted to do them again. And just look at them all together. Oh my goodness. Such a fun set. And I got all 7 figures for, I think, $120 shipped. You know, quick maths on screen. They're on BBTS for like $170, but I think on AliExpress you can still get them for that price that I got them. Best impulse purchase I've made in a long time. I think Brainstorm's probably my favorite just because of that transformation. Chrome Dome has the most articulation, but I think Hardhead might be the best, honestly. Skullcruncher's the most solid of the Decepticon ones, but the other two are still fun. You really can't go wrong with any member of this set. I wish they'd done a Cerebros in this scale. The only other thing Vecma Studio ever did was this Optimus Prime one from that one time he was the alligator. He's kind of monstrously expensive on AliExpress, literally $30 more than this entire set, but I've seen some listings elsewhere for cheaper, so I might pick him up sometime. While we're here though, can I talk about something that bothers me? I can't think of another opportunity I'll have to do this, so I'm going to. All the Autobot Target Masters have dual wielding, except Highbrow also gets extra guns on his arms, and Hardhead gets the one big cannon. I don't like when teams all have the same type of gun. It means that you have less unique poses to put all of them in. Surely it would have made sense to have Hardhead just have the cannon, make it a handheld cannon maybe? This is not a critique of the figures, by the way. I'm talking character design. So okay, all the Autobots are dual wielders, and you come over to Skullcruncher and Weirdwolf. Tail weapon, gun. Tail weapon, gun. Why does Mindwipe have 2 guns? Because now, these 2 are weird. It could have been Decepticons have 1 melee weapon, 1 gun. Autobots have 2 guns each, a little bit of extra, even though the little bit of extra bothers me too. But now, it's 5 out of the 7 Headmaster main cast are dual wielders, and these 2 are not. It bothers me in a way that I can't exactly describe. It's just not a happy pattern. It does not fit nicely into my worldview. I feel as though I've been owned in the marketplace of ideas. I'm dehydrated, my day is ruined, I'm cramping, I have a Charles horse. But honestly though, if you like the Headmasters, you should get the set. If you like the show, I mean, I haven't seen the show, but if you like the show, I'm assuming you want versions of the figures. These are leagues above the Titans Return versions, even if they're smaller. And as someone who doesn't really care about scale, I'm probably gonna sell off my Titans Return ones now, honestly. These are so much more fun, they're pocket sized, the transformations are good, the materials are good, and they have so many neat little details. Ugh. Thanks to everybody who watched Discount Dive this year. I'm recording this on December 31st because the last Discount Dive I recorded was very negative, and I thought it'd be a lot nicer to end on a high note. So if you have a little bit of extra Christmas money lying around, I think you should get these figures. You should treat yourself, and if you do what I did and only open one a day, you get an entire week of fun. Happy New Year, everybody.